Well, you made it back.
Yeah, I
You
made it
here.
back. I usually do. Surprisingly, when I was in 2010, I got divorced, from my second wife. And I started traveling the world. I got rid of everything. Sold everything in the house, put the house on the market. I mean, I didn't have a place to live. I just
You
got
gypsy.
on a plane and started going to all the different countries in the world, 30 different countries. And I was on my own. It's just like, okay, I'm here by myself. I don't know the language, but I'm going to make it. I'm going to get something to eat. I'm going to get a hotel room, or I may stay here for a couple of days, or if I don't get a good feel for it, I may say, all right, I'm getting back on the ferry and I'm going to go back to Italy, go someplace else, go to Germany or Austria. But now those days are over, Diane did it a little bit with me, she traveled in Europe, we traveled around Germany and, went to Zurich and just a couple of different places, but she's a country bumpkin, she could care less about Europe. She thought it was beautiful, but
Yeah, well,
she could care less.
scenery's great, architecture's great.
Yeah, well, she missed her family and, there's not much way of keeping in touch with your family, but
Well, since the last time you were here, how you feeling?
I feel pretty good.
Like I said, feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, we have our issues with Trey, but we went to school yesterday and had our meeting. Since Trey's in some special program,
Mm-hmm.
and Trey's doing really well in school. I was really surprised. I was expecting, that he's a problem child, but he seems to do better in that environment than he does at home. For some reason, he just likes to push our buttons. Whereas when he's at school, I guess he's around other kids and stuff, and he seems to be a little bit happier in the school environment.
Gotcha.
And we're getting ready to go to Shaw Air Force Base this weekend for the wrestling tournament, Saturday and Sunday. So it's 2 full days.
So you got a big weekend coming up.
Yeah, it's a big weekend.
So you got any questions from the last time we were here about anything at all?
No, not really.
Okay. Well, what I would definitely want to do with the rest of this intake is I want to definitely focus on you. I want to get to know some more directly about you, so we can help put together a plan that works for you, and get you to get in a better place. And what I want to do is I want to start with this questionnaire here, and I'm sure it's a questionnaire that you've seen before. We both have.
Yeah.
And we'll collectively walk through it together. I'm going to actually let you answer the questions too. And if you have any questions about it, you can ask.
Mm-hmm.
But this is definitely going to help us look at a few things. It's basically going to go about a couple weeks back, and also kind of even with how you're feeling today.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to start with this here and then really focus in on some things that we didn't get a chance to touch base with on the last time, and start to really collect some things about you.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I'd like to do. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you this pen, and it's gonna be on a Likert scale. It's gonna ask you different things on here. And again, I know you've seen this, and you probably did it at the VA as well. But if you could start with that, and just kind of roll through those. Take a minute and answer them to the best of your ability.
was easy.
Looking for those trick questions on there?
Yeah, well, that's sort of like that MMPI, that Minnesota Multiplistic Test.
Mm-hmm.
We had to take it at Lackland when I was a drill sergeant down there, to make sure that we're not nuts, because we're in charge of a flight of, young men or women, whichever it was. But, and to us, we felt like they want you, I don't know, I'm trying to think of what a good way of saying it, that if you purposely tried to fail it, they would keep you. If you do something the way you're supposed to, they're looking at you and saying, like, there's something wrong with you, we need to get you out of this program. Like, why do you comb your hair like that? Like, what are you talking about? What's wrong with my hair? Well, you got it combed back on the side, yet you got a flat top on the top. What difference does it make? Oh, it's just odd that somebody would have their hair like that. It's just stupid stuff like that.
You're like, is it?
Yeah, or which way is North Dakota? Thinking like northwest.
Maybe.
Yeah. What time is it? Without looking at your watch. You think like, man, it's crazy.
Well, what we're going to do now, I'm going to go through this with you, and I'm going to be taking some notes and writing some things down, so don't think I'm ignoring you as I'm kind of taking some notes,
okay.
But it's going to allow me to help you down the line here. But before I just dive right directly into this, tell me a little bit about family mental history. Anything going on there? Mom, dad, brother, sister?
No.
So nobody seen anybody before in the past?
No, my older brother, he died of MS. He was 61 when he died.
Okay.
But he had some, the PTSD, obviously, just like me. But he had some.
So I assume he was in service?
Yeah, he was in Vietnam too. He was there in 65, 66. It
Okay.
was a rough time for him because the 101st went in first to basically clear the way for everybody else coming in. They would clear an area, meaning bad guys are not in there, so you can bring the good guys in, set up, and then they will push them someplace else. Get rid of the bad guys, push them somewhere. So he was all over Vietnam, and he did some things that he had a difficult time living with.
Okay.
And
did he get any help for that? I know you mentioned he had PTSD.
He tried to get into counseling and stuff, but he didn't like the group therapy because he said all it was a bunch of guys, talking war stories about how bad they are and stuff. And he said, I don't want to hear that shit. It's not for me. So he just basically.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because sometimes, you get people talking out
Exactly
of their neck
right.
in those classes. I
Right.
understand that. But outside of your brother, that's it. Nothing with
No
mom,
problem.
dad, or okay, fair enough. Going back to you, George, as far as childhood with you, are there any childhood milestones that you may or may not have met? Anything that you can remember that you were told that you had a difficult time with at all growing up? Anything that's ringing home with you about that?
No.
So
I felt like I had
all normal.
an average childhood.
Okay.
So,
How was the home life environment there? Was it pretty normal? What is it?
yeah, I felt like it was normal. I mean, we didn't know any different. We were kids. But we lived in a poor neighborhood. All the houses were the same. Probably 800 square feet house, little brick square house. We're
Okay.
downstairs and unfinished upstairs, but we finished the upstairs. And I mean, there was 3 of us boys and my sister. So we had a family, but Dad was a plumber, electrician, but we seemed to get along. But
Okay.
I could tell my parents were under stress of paying bills and stuff like that, but they always seemed to get by.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I know your schooling went well because I know you were a college professor
Yeah.
at one point, so I know education-wise you did well. Any past behavioral concerns or issues with yourself or anyone in the family at that time?
No.
No? Okay. Let's talk about culture-wise in the family. I know right now with Trey, you have that biracial kind of,
Mhm.
and I know it's not really an issue for you, but with your family, any other differences in cultural upbringing in the family other than what you currently have going on?
My daughter is biracial too.
Okay.
We adopted her in 1977. She was only 6 months old when we adopted her.
Okay.
It was just something my wife couldn't have children, and so we just decided that we'll try to adopt. And we saw an article in a paper saying unadoptable children need parents for unadoptable children. And I'm thinking, like, what is this? And it was biracial kids, because in the late 70s,
Sure.
biracial kids, nobody wanted them. You know, black people didn't want them, white people didn't want them, so they were like unadoptable. So we just decided to try it out. We had to go through counseling, but it worked out fine. And she's 44 years old now and got 2 kids living in Arizona.
All right.
Turned out to be a good kid.
Perfect. Okay. I know we talked also about church and going to church. And refresh me on that. How much of a support group do you have within the church right now? Are you guys real tight, or are you going consistently on Sundays? Are you going twice a week, or what's that look like?
We go every week.
On Sundays?
Yeah, my wife is much more spiritual than I am.
Okay.
You know, before I married my wife, 10 years ago, I didn't go to church. I believed, but I didn't go to church. But since she was so spiritual that she wanted me to go with her, and I made friends at church and stuff, but I still haven't figured it out. I sometimes wonder, why am I here? I hear the preacher talking and stuff, but I just can't figure it out. I said, I'm going to be 73 years old, and I feel like that I'm kind of lost when it comes to spirituality.
Now, when you go to church, you just go collectively to like the big sermon, like, hey, everybody shows up at 10 and we sit here for an hour, or do you actually go into any men's groups or do anything?
Yeah, I go to the men's group.
So you do go to the men's
Yeah.
groups, okay.
And I enjoy the men's group because they usually have, someone will speak from the group
Okay.
about something dealing with religion. It has to deal with religion. And that's what I didn't like that idea, because I felt like there's a lot of things that, being a teacher, that would help these people just being a better person that I could teach. But yet they're just focused on, if it's going to be something, it's got to have something to do with religion, the Bible, whatever. But I enjoy talking to people. It's a better chance, because some of the people been going to this church for 10 years, and I don't know half the people in the room. They're in. I know some of them, because I've had conversations with them. It's not like I don't try to make conversation, but most time, people, when you're in the church itself, you don't really know anybody other than your circle of friends.
Right.
I don't know everybody in there. I mean, I may see them, may hello, in Walmart or something, but, I'm not budding friends with anybody.
Do you do the men's group regularly on Sunday?
It's not every Sunday. It's once a month.
So, okay.
Once a month. They usually get together and somebody prepares a meal, and we all go in, eat first, and then we have like an hour session while the women's group has their session.
Okay. Well, do they only meet once a month, or you choose to only go once a month?
No, they only meet once a month.
They only meet once a month,
Yeah.
okay. As far as legal history in the past, anything that is a current stressor as far as legalities in life?
I've been an outstanding citizen all my life.
I kind of figured as much.
Yeah, never had a problem with the law, never got arrested, never used marijuana in Vietnam, even though I was there twice. I'd never used it. I saw buddies shooting up, toting told him, I said, you carry that shit out in the field with you, I'll shoot you myself.
Fair enough.
Yep.
All right, well, good. So there's nothing impacting you legally at this point,
No.
dispositions with kids or anything?
No.
Okay. I know you're retired. When you were done with military, George, what were you doing outside of that after you got out of the military? What was going on outside of that, as far as work?
I taught.
So it was just teaching at the school, at the college.
Yeah.
And how long did that go on for?
Probably 16 years.
16.
Total.
Okay.
I started out with anything, you start out at lower levels, like junior college and stuff. And then from there, I moved up to a regular college, and then I moved up to the university level. My wife came home one day and she said, I was just up at Auraria campus in Denver. And she said, it's beautiful. You would really love working there. So I applied.
So you like working with people,
Oh,
teaching,
yeah.
instructing, because it really sounds like you have a knack for that.
I was a good instructor. A very good. I was instructor of the year for Air Force. I figure, like, you may not know it now, because of, when you're out of it, you don't use it, you lose it.
Sure.
And that scares me sometimes when I'm thinking, like, man, I don't really remember that theory. I remember basically what it was, but it's just, it goes. Because it's out of your mind. It may be back there somewhere, but it bothers me that I forget about it. And then when I'm having a conversation with anybody, you normally use examples, and
Right.
you can't remember the example. So then you just look stupid, because you're sitting there like, oh, what am I talking about here?
Well, sounds like you kind of miss teaching a little bit.
Yeah, I do. I do miss it a lot. I remember my granddaughter, when I went down to visit her, she was graduating from high school, and she said, Grandpa, I need to interview you, for being a Vietnam veteran.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to do that because I get credit for it, but I get more credit if you come to class with me. And I'm thinking, like, wow, this is a good opportunity.
Yeah.
So I get up there and basically tell my story. And my time was up, but I asked the teacher, I said, because they were asking questions, and I said, do you mind? He says, you got the whole class, do what you want to do. And I just had fun. I tell them, different theories that I have, about life, and stuff that I told my daughter when she was growing up, and my granddaughters out there and thinking the same thing. You told Mom that. I said, well, it's true. That's the way it goes. But, you come up with all kinds of things when you're teaching all the time.
Sure.
Because you
Probably made you feel good when you were able to do that as well. Kind of brings back some things.
But naturally, you see people out there in the audience, like kids that are, messing with their phones or, not paying attention to you. And normally I would walk up to them in my classroom,
Of course.
okay, what are you doing?
Well, since being retired and out of the military, have you noticed anything that's impacted you since you've been out? Here in civilian world, anything that is a disposition for you that you struggle with, or things that being out of the military that challenge you?
Well, I guess when you've been in the military for 25 years, you're used to that structure.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see that structure in civilian life. It's, everything is just flim-flam. It's do what you want to do, and, there's no respect, for people above you, no respect for parents or whatever. Trey is respectful, but, he'll say yes, ma'am, and yes, sir, on occasion to me, but more with Nana. He fears her more than he does me. Even though I could come down on him harder than she does, but she's the alpha male in our house.
She's wearing the pants.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right. So, I know we talked about the gym a little bit and how that, was a great way for you to kind of engage with other folks. Plus, it's a stress, relief and whatnot. How's that going for you now? Since we talked last, are there any recreational activities that are going on with you? Have you been able to kind of get back into doing that at all, or what's that look like for you right now?
You know what? I haven't even attempted to get back in it. I with 10 acres, I keep really busy
Okay.
on the property. Cleaning the property up, and my knees are shot. So, I mean, I have a difficult time getting around, but I get around.
So that's your recreational activity right now.
Yeah.
Is you're using those 10 acres. You've got a lot of
Yeah.
property you can deal with. So,
Yeah.
okay.
And working on the cars, working on the guns, there's all kinds of things that I do, you know, that keep me busy. But, you know, sometimes, you know, your vanity comes into play. I think it does. That when I was in the military, I was 190 pounds and looked good in my uniform, and I felt good. But now I'm 220 pounds, 30 pounds more than what I was when I was in the military. And I don't like that. I don't care for it. When people see you after a long time, they go, hey, you got an extra basketball in there or something, George? And I'm thinking, like, why would you say that to anybody? Why would you do that? I mean, it may be funny, but it hurts my feelings, you know, when you do something like that, you know. And I was just looking today. I bought some new pants.
Okay.
36-30, because that's what I wear. I put them on and like I can't button them. I mean, I'd really have to suck my gut in a lot to get these pants on. They must have made them wrong or something. They must have put a 32 thing on it. You know what I'm talking about.
Like they gypsy switched the tag on you?
Yeah, exactly right. Switch the damn tags on me, but that bugs me. When I've got pants in my closet that I know should fit me, but when I try on another pair of 36, they fit. So I'm thinking like, oh, it's just a mistake. You know, I need to measure these things and make sure that they're
So your physical health is something obviously that you value, that's important to you,
exactly,
and that
right.
you know when other people say things to you about it, that it has an impact.
I'm very conscious of my health.
Okay.
Very conscious.
So, in terms of that, I know you say you work around the property and whatnot, but what would it take to get you back into the gym or being able to work with other peers inside the gym? Because a lot of that, you know, that's social activity now as well. So now you get to, you know, whether it's meeting up with, you know, fellow teammates from the past, you know, going inside the gym, because it sounds like, you know, you'd like to be able to control your weight to a degree. And you know, and we can talk about that later, but, you know, getting you back into the gym or getting you to do something collectively with a group, you know, team building skills, you know, you already know how that works. You're prior military.
Yeah.
So, you know, those team building skills are important because you've got someone hoorahing you along a little bit, being like, hey, come on, George, we're going to do this together. You know, so when I see you like that, I'm like, you know what, maybe that's, you know, something that would work well for you. So are you trying to now? And why not?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a time factor now. I mean, before it was part of my ritual was to get up, eat breakfast, and go into the gym and stay there for 2 or 3 hours. I could talk to people, I could work out, I could do what I wanted to do. And then I come home, you know. But now I don't do that anymore. I may get up, I may watch, you know, the news on TV or something like it just seems like the world is so volatile right now, you know, that I want to keep abreast of things, but you don't even know who to believe anymore.
So you staying home and watching the news is kind of consuming you from going out?
No, it doesn't keep me from going out, but I mean, I can go outside if I want to and work on something, you know, around the house.
So any physical factors that are contributing to you going?
My knees, just trying to get around, and my back will bother me.
Right.
You know, if I'm doing work outside all day, my back's going to hurt that night, obviously, you know. I said, well, you know.
Right.
But
shoulder.
Yeah, shoulders, ruptured biceps on each arm. And I just worry about when is the next time that I'm going to have a problem, you know, because I was just lifting up leaves like this and dumping them in the shed, and boom, it just busted loose. And I'm thinking like, man, I've hurt myself again. You know, this arm's that way, and it gets to the point where you're afraid to do anything.
Sure, I mean, I understand the psychological side of it.
I mean,
You
I can
break
work
your
on the
bicep
car. I
vertebra
can
and-
pretty much do anything, but I try not to do things that are going to get me in trouble. You know, like reaching behind me or something, that, especially with my shoulder.
So these physical contributions that are going on with you are also what kind of deter you from really going back
Yeah.
to the gym, because you're afraid of tearing something or
Yeah.
it impacting you not to be able to go outside or do other fun activities. So
Yeah.
you're just air to caution with that is what it's looking like right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Prior to here, I know you had talked about you seen a psychiatrist before. Did you have any other treatment plans with another psychologist prior to that psychiatrist?
I saw a psychologist for a while, but he felt like that my needs were more with a psychiatrist than it was with a
How long ago
psychiatrist.
was the psychologist, George? You remember?
I don't
the
know,
year?
3 or 4 years ago in the VA.
Okay.
It was at the clinic in VA. I just saw him and
So
talked.
around 2017?
It could be. Time goes by so fast that I don't even remember these days, you know. It's,
All good. How was that experience for you? I know you were starting to talk about that when you saw that psychologist and he said, hey, you need to go see the psychiatrist for medication. Do you feel like you were hurt at all with this last person?
I don't know. I kind of felt like you're pushing me somewhere else. You know, I didn't really feel like, I don't know, maybe more so for my disability. I felt like that I needed to see the psychiatrist versus the psychologist, because I felt like that he was there because me and Diane were at each other because of Trey, and that he was treating me for that. And I'm thinking like, I'm not here for that.
So you felt like you weren't being heard for what you were there for?
Yeah, I'm here for PTSD. I'm not. But he was like rolling it all into like, oh, you're having marital problems, and that's what I'm going to help you to get, you know, past this marital problem thing. Like I don't feel like, you know, I have any more problems than anybody else. But
Right. But it's important to feel like you're being heard for what you're
Yeah.
there for, not being pushed just to go get
Yeah.
medication or whatnot. I can see that
Yeah.
that bothered you.
Were you diagnosed with post-traumatic stress there? Were you diagnosed with post-traumatic stress there?
not by him.
Not by the psychologist?
No. I had to go to Asheville and be interviewed up there. I had like an hour, 2 hour interview.
Did the psychiatrist say anything to you as they were prescribing meds to you? Did they?
The only meds that she prescribed for me was the duloxetine,
Okay.
Cymbalta, and the tramadone. It's for sleep.
Trazodone.
Trazodone, yeah.
Okay.
And I still take that. You know, she said it wasn't habit forming or anything, so I don't feel it. I've never really tried not taking it.
Do you know what dosage you take by chance?
I'm not really sure of.
We'll figure that out later. All right.
I don't think it's. She was just saying that I took one and I felt like that when I first took two, it kind of made me feel off, dizzy or something. And she said, well, just take one. So that's all I've been taking is one.
And that's working for you, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, looking at this. Oh, you got a lot of zeros on here. Good. So, on a little interest or pleasure in doing things on days, you got one marked. Talk to me about that. You got one on there for do you have little interest in doing something, or is it the frequency? What's going on there?
Sometimes I just feel like, what am I gonna do today?
Okay.
You know, I go outside and thinking, okay, do I want to work on refinishing this gun? I need to get this done.
Okay.
You know, because I don't normally procrastinate with a gun. I usually do it But if it's mine, I have a tendency to procrastinate. But if it's somebody else's, I may work on it because I want them to be happy when they get it back and say, wow, this thing is beautiful. You did a really good job with it.
Okay.
But with my own, I've had the gun for many, many years, and I'm just decided to refinish it. And now it's still, the stock is done, the parts, I'm still working on the parts. I've got to re-blue parts. But sometimes you start walking around and think like, oh, my bird feeder is empty out there. The birds don't have anything to eat, so I got to go do the birds. I got to rake that pile of leaves up. It's been there for 2 or 3 days. I need to get the mower out and change the oil. It's just like so many things, are bombarding you that, you don't know what to do first.
So it's boiling down to, trying to prioritize some of those things and how you want to prioritize some of those things.
And Diana be on my case all the time. You need to get this done, George. You need to get this done. She said, you've got the Mini Cooper out there. You really love the Mini Cooper, and I've got a blown cylinder. And she said, either get rid of it or fix it. One or the other. She said, why do you worry about the money in fixing it? I said, I don't want to put any more money into it. I mean, it doesn't mean that much to me. I don't mind getting rid of it, but it's still sitting there.
Right.
Taking up space. Stopped the insurance on it, gave the tags up. But for some reason, I just don't want to just give it away, to someone.
So sometimes it's just kind of sound like a little bit of motivation.
Yeah.
That's what this is kind of boiling down to, motivation. And, it kind of depends on how your day is going and how that motivation is going to kind of look like to you on a daily basis. Okay.
Or my office, my office is usually not neat. For somebody being a drill sergeant, you would think that you would be neat, but it's not true. I mean, I may have papers here and there, and every once in a while I'll go in and I'm thinking like, I need to get this cleaned up. And it only takes me like 15 minutes to clean it up, and then it all looks good, and I'm thinking like, wow, I got this done, and it didn't take me that long. But yet you go in there and you look at it and say, I'll do it later. I just want to sit in the easy chair and just relax a little.
Just sit back.
Yeah.
Talk to me about this little energy, feeling tired. What's going on there?
I don't know.
I mean, that doesn't seem very frequent on here. You got it.
No, it's
one,
not.
So
it's just every once in a while you just feel, I don't know, when I wake up in the morning, I just feel like that I get, like at 6:15 to get Trey up, I feel like I could just sit down in the chair and go to sleep. But I know I have responsibilities, so I don't do that. And then by the time, he gets ready for school and stuff, I'm usually okay. I'm fully awake.
How many hours of sleep do you get a night, you think?
I usually go to bed around 11 and I get up 6:15. Maybe 7 hours.
Okay. Are you falling asleep immediately? Are you
much
watching
go.
TV? Are you gaming
No,
it up or
we
anything?
don't have a TV in the bedroom.
Okay, good.
I go to sleep pretty quick.
Okay. And you feel like it's a pretty restful sleep?
Yeah, except for, dreams every once in a while, just disturbing dreams or something that you may have that, that bug you. You're always thinking about, I want to have pleasant dreams, but, not all of them are pleasant. In fact, some things are just so repetitive that I'm trying to figure out, like, where does this...
What's repetitive?
In all my military dreams, it's always me with my superiors, or some of the superiors that I had, like teaching at the Senior NCO Academy, that they're in this dream, and they're my boss still. And I'm coming to a formation, and I don't have my hat. My hat's missing. Like, where the hell is my hat? I can't go out in formation without my hat. It's always something like that, or my ribbons are messed up. There's always something that, just minor little things that just bug you. But I don't know what it is.
You're not the only person that has that issue, I promise you.
Is it?
You're not the only person.
Old bosses, it's just that And it's not like I had any major relationship with them, but I knew them for 4 years, and they just keep popping up in my dream, whether it be Army or Air Force. It doesn't really go one way or another. Or it's like I'm back in training again.
Mm-hmm.
As a basic trainee, I said, I'm not a basic trainee. I'm a combat veteran. I need to let these people know that I don't belong here, or put me through this stuff, real quick. I don't want to do all this silly little stuff.
It's that
Or
attention
when
to detail sneaking back up on you.
Or one that's very repetitive is being in combat or being in a stressful situation. And I'm trying to shoot, but when I squeeze the trigger, I'm squeezing really hard, but nothing's happening. Like, okay, it's just got to go just a little bit more, and I'm squeezing and nothing happens. Or if I do shoot, the bullet comes out at the end of the barrel and just drops down on the ground. Like, what the heck is it with that? But I mean, I remember having one the other night that a guy had broken into the place where I was, and he had one of those shocker things, stun gun.
Mm-hmm.
And he was standing right over me, and I had the gun right in my hand. And he said, "Don't do it, or I'm gonna shock you." And I'm thinking, like, I don't want to be shocked. I need to get this gun working. It needs to shoot. But I'm squeezing and nothing's happening. You got to get it to a certain point before it will go off. Like, why do I have to squeeze so hard when it's only got a few pound trigger pull? But that's very repetitive.
Okay.
That dream is very repetitive. Misfire, and I don't know if it has anything to do with Vietnam, but whenever we went out, before we went out on patrol, we went to the range to sight in our weapons, test fire. Every time I had the car 15 short, it would jam every time. And I didn't like the idea of being in combat and knowing that thing could jam, when I'm in a firefight. It just didn't make me feel good at all. Even to the point where I took all my bullets out of the clip each night and cleaned them off. When we're out in the jungle and stuff and it gets dirty. But I would clean them off, put them back in, make sure that everything is perfect, that nothing is going to be in that chamber except my bullet. But commander said, "Oh, you didn't clean it good enough. You didn't clean the bolt good enough." I said, "I got it down to the metal. It's clean. You did something wrong. It's my fault.
Right.
Right? It's not me. It's the gun. It's the ammo. It's something. But it wasn't me."
Okay. Let's talk about your eating. So, poor appetite or overeating doesn't seem to be a big deal. You've got it marked down as a 1. So, is it you feel like you are not eating enough? Do you feel like the choices you're making aren't good choices, or how's that look to you?
I'd probably say that the choices are not as good. Like I'll go to Panera. When I go into town, I go to Panera and get a bagel. Just a bagel and a cup of coffee. That's it. Just one bagel and a cup of coffee. Or if I'm at home, I usually have a couple pieces of toast, a couple slices of cheese, and my coffee.
Okay.
But I don't feel like that I eat poorly, but I may snack in the car. Well, I'll carry some pretzel sticks in the car or some ginger snaps, something to just crunch on, when I'm driving. Just seems to relax me,
Okay. All right.
But
So-
it's nothing that I binge on or anything.
Gotcha.
I just-
I'm just trying to bring that back because
Yeah.
I know what you had mentioned. Hey, your biomech system about your weight. So
Yeah.
in my mind, I'm like, all right, are you, do you think you're overeating by any means? Because based on what
Yeah.
people have told you, or you just feeling like maybe you need to make some different
Well, it's just that when you see yourself every day and
Sure.
you notice differences in you, that how far your stomach, obviously my stomach has had a lot of damage to it, from
The shrapnel that you were
shrapnel
talking
and-
before. Okay.
and I've got a 9x9 mesh, on the inside of my stomach area, and sometimes when it sticks out, I'm thinking like, is this right? Is this the way it's supposed to be? Is this the way I'm going to be the rest of my life? And if I lose weight, is this going to go down? And because I'm more toned. And
Right. Okay. You're feeling anxious and nervous. While it's not marked high on here at all, talk to me about that.
I don't know. Like I told you today, I just felt a little anxious when I was riding downtown, thinking like, where am I going to park? And where am I going to eat? Because I don't really have a whole lot of time, but I may
Right.
have 30 minutes where I can get something to eat. But if I go in a restaurant, am I going to have to wait, for it to be prepared? Or am I going to go to some fast food places? And it was just a tough decision until I saw the coffee place, and I'm thinking like, I can get a bagel or something in there. But I get anxious when I watch the news. When I watch every night during the week,
Mm-hmm.
Jesse Waters, Tucker, Hannity, Laura. 4 shows that I pretty much stay with the same conservative viewpoint all the time. And when I hear things, I'm thinking like, how can this be happening? What's going on, in this world, that it just seems like when you look around you and you see everybody getting along and doing their own thing, why is it the world is in such disorder right now? And it makes me tense and nervous, that all this could come to an end just on a mistake. When somebody starts alerting their nuclear forces, I think like, man, this is serious stuff, when
Sure.
you start talking nuclear. I mean, it's the end of the world. So that makes me a little bit nervous.
Gotcha. And that would make anybody nervous.
And when my wife gets on my case, sometimes I think, the drawer being open an inch does not mean anything to me, okay? But it means something to her. The closet door not being fully closed doesn't mean anything to me. It's petty. I keep my room fairly clean. The room that I use for my clothes, it's a guest bedroom. I keep it fairly straight. But all she wants to focus on is the drawer wasn't shut all the way. And that makes me tense to the point where I get pissed, and I'll yell. Like, why do you worry about this? Why do you worry about dishes being in the sink? Well, you need to wash them when you finish doing them and put them in the dishwasher. I feel like during the day that if I use I just put it in the sink. It's no big deal. I mean, I can wash it that night. I don't mind washing them, but it's just petty things. Take your shoes off when you come in the house.
And that kind of brings me to where I with, you become annoyed and irritable. I know you're got, marked down every day.
Every day.
And it seems like it's all these little things that tend to annoy you, all these little nuances that you're continuously, have you, and it sounds like you've kind of talked to her a little bit about that and how that makes you feel, because obviously you'd like to be able to get that irritability down.
Yeah.
So my question is, and you pretty much answered it, what it looks like for you, that irritability, it sounds like all these little things kind of add up that make this irritability for you. Is that a true statement?
No. I mean, I feel like that we live a good life. I mean, there's stressors in my life, but I mean, it's not like I hurt for anything.
Sure.
And I just don't think that little things, are that important. Like, don't sweat the small stuff. That consider yourself lucky that you've got good medical care. that you're healthy, that Trey is doing well in school. Consider yourself lucky. Don't focus on the negative things all the time, because it really bugs me. It makes me tense.
Gotcha.
And to the point where if she says something smart, then I'll bark right back.
Throws your blood pressure up.
Yep.
So, which brings me to my last thing with you today.
Last thing.
And that's, you know, the feeling of something awful is going to happen. And I know you watch a lot of news, so there's a lot of sensationalization going on with all these different news broadcasts. And so when you put down, hey, you know, you feel like something bad's going to happen, what's driving you to that? Talk to me about that.
It's not about my life. It's about the world. The world is so in disarray right now that it bothers me. It bothers me that all this goodness that we have right now, that we can walk around and we don't have to worry about bombs dropping or people shooting in the street or soldiers on the street corner with their Uzis or whatever. We don't have to worry about that. We got a good life, but yet somebody is always trying to screw it up, you know, for more power or whatever they want. But that's what bugs me, is the end of the world, so to speak, you know, because of other people. It's not about my life, you know, my life I can deal with, but I can't control the end of the world, you know, by somebody doing something stupid.
It's the thing, you just said it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just realized you were a lefty, and Trey's a lefty too.
I know I'm in my right mind.
Yeah. Not in your right mind.
Not in my right mind. Well, good. How do you feel about this session today?
It felt good. Sometimes
like-
it's good to talk about it.
And that was the point of today. It was to, you know, I wanted you to be able to talk about you and,
Yeah.
you know, see the direction that you were coming from, your point of view. You know, what are the things that are going on with you, and that was really the rest of where we're picking up from last time is, you know, you giving me this information is going to allow us to come up with a game plan for you. We're going to come up with, you know, some things that are going to, you know, collectively that we'll come up with that we want to make a plan that, hey, you know, if we do these things, this is going to possibly make a better outcome for George. So I want to be able to come up with a good game plan for our next session and figure out collectively, you know, we'll make a plan together. It's going to be cohesive. It's going to be something that we can work through together so you can move forward, and maybe we can get rid of some of these feelings that you're having and come up with a better way to, you know, just make you feel better about your day and get you moving forward and maybe tie up some loose ends. How you feel about that, you know, coming in next week, and we'll, you know, I think you said you're going somewhere this upcoming weekend, so maybe after you get back, we can
Yeah, the 10th through the 14th.
make a phone call and we'll figure out what works for you, and then start to come up with, hey, you know, some game plans that are going to work for you.
Sounds good.
Work for you?
Mhm.
All right, well, we'll call it a day for today, and then we'll catch up next
Sounds
week.
good. We got